Welcome back. Maybe you were affected by this today. Social media giants like X, Spotify, OpenAI, not functioning for part of the day. So was the provincial government, New Brunswick, its website. All because of something called Cloudflare. It had an outage that disrupted parts of the internet. Joining us to explain all this is cybersecurity expert David Shipley. He runs Beauceron Security, and he's in Fredericton. We are happy to have you tonight. You're going to explain this to us. What happened? What happened?
So Cloudflare is like the flood management system for the internet these days. Bad actors often try and basically drown out websites, whether just for fun or to extort large companies or governments or to cover up attempts to attack them with so much garbage traffic that if you didn't have these floodgates, you wouldn't be able to access these services. And Cloudflare does this kind of service to prevent things known as denial of service attacks. They also provide infrastructure to make your services available as quickly as possible, as close to customers as possible. My company uses elements of Cloudflare's infrastructure to offer our service to thousands of clients in North America. So, we saw this impact to a lesser extent in some of our platform as well. It's an absolutely essential service. If we didn't have this, the internet would be even more unstable than it is. But things are getting bad, and the floodgates are getting overwhelmed. And what is coming out this afternoon is that some of the automated files, some of the smart automations or AI built into these things, it failed. And it made basically a file that was too large for the system to process, and the internet ground to a halt.
Okay.
The floodgates slammed shut.
There was another company, and correct me if I'm wrong here, was it CloudStrike or CrowdStrike? And is it something similar? There was a big outage. It wasn't even a year ago, was it? Is that something along the lines of this?
So in July 2024, what happened is CrowdStrike it was an antivirus provider to the world's largest enterprises, including Delta Airlines,
right,
which is still in quite a nasty lawsuit over that outage. They had deployed a antivirus update that had a flaw in it that caused Windows computers to go into a reboot cycle and not come out of it. And that was massively disruptive to desktop computers. Cloudflare helps the internet servers make sure that they can actually give real customers access to websites while filtering out malicious traffic, bots, etc. But it's like an airport security team, right? So they got to screen all the traffic coming in to make sure that only the safe traffic is getting through. And it's like that whole thing just came to a grinding halt. And you saw some pretty major impacts from that. Now, what's important to note is while we as a country regulate important sectors of our economy, like the banking sector for obvious reasons, telecommunications for obvious reasons, these large, almost monopolistic internet security companies, which are so big, they don't have nearly the same amount of oversight. And whether it's this outage, recently Amazon Web Services, which is where a lot of companies and governments now host their servers, they had an issue. Microsoft Azure had an issue. Yep. We're seeing some of the creaks in the internet and the cracks form.
These are supposed to be the big gatekeepers, and if they're, like you say, showing cracks, there might be some trouble. You kind of touched on it, but I know in interviews in the past you've been very frank in saying governments are not keeping up in policy, policing, or holding companies to account. Does this fall under that?
It does. Like right now, we're still trying to pass the law. I was talking to you years ago about to have basic cyber safety standards for power utilities, for banks, for telecommunications and energy transmissions. And this comes as Ottawa continues to debate this law as hackers recently attacked a grain silo in Western Canada, trying to cause an explosion. I had to learn that grain silos actually can be quite dangerous if they don't have the proper ventilation. So we are under attack constantly. Our legislators can't move fast enough and certainly don't seem to have the sense of urgency. But even then, the stuff that they have on their plate right now doesn't even cover these companies and holding them accountable. They can't get their heads around it. And for some reason, we thought it was super cool to create a minister of AI and jump on the giant hype train there and not have the minister for cybersecurity and critical infrastructure resiliency when we all depend on this stuff so much.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. You mentioned that today's outage for Cloudflare did impact you. Do you just,
Yep.
does that drive you nuts when you see that? Because obviously it, you know, it disrupts your day, and you're having, I'm sure you're getting all kinds of nasty phone calls from clients.
So the good news is our clients, well, a lot of services were disrupted that were a lot bigger than what we are. For example, a lot of them use ChatGPT or AI services, or a lot of other things were affected. But our clients were very understanding. The impacts to us were fairly minimal because they were small elements within our tech stack that we rely on it for. So our overall system was able to stay up and running, which is a good amount of resiliency. But it's hard to find anybody else that can do some of the things that Cloudflare can do for companies of our scale at this point. There's not a lot of alternatives. So everyone hates it. Trust me, it's not a fun part of the day, but there's kind of a shared understanding that none of us have any ability to enforce better standards. And the other part of it is that a lot of our customers, they're very security aware, and they're aware of just how bad things are on the internet right now. And I think that's what folks watching may not realize. We have never seen the scale of malicious traffic being used by criminals, by countries, that we're seeing now. The information superhighway we were sold 30 years ago, no one told us that there would be highway robbers on it, and no one told us about the potholes. And guess what? Like any 30-year-old highway, the potholes are starting to show up.
Well, David, on that positive note, we'll leave it there. Lots to talk about in our next conversation. Thank you for taking a few minutes for us. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you so much.
All right. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.